Deals.
Okay, so hi everybody, I'm David Perlmutter. I'm the CEO and founder of Quantum Listing, and I am thrilled to be here today with my good friend and colleague Andrew Bermudez, who is the CEO and co-founder of Digsy. Andrew is a long-time commercial real estate professional. He started out at Lee and Associates, where he was a broker. He was a superstar broker. He rose through the ranks. I think by the time he was 24, they made him into a vice president. And from day one, Andrew decided that he was going to use technology to power his brokerage practice. And so he developed tools for himself which were terrific, and he decided that he was going to take that to the next level, and he then went and started Digsy. Digsy is a commercial real estate listing service, and are you still a CRM? Or
we have a CRM, so we have lead generation tools and a lead generation service for tenants and buyer brokers, along with helping anybody who's listing, whether it's property owners, property managers, or brokers, market their properties effectively.
Yeah. So, and Digsy, as you can see, has gotten some pretty high test board members and advisors. He's got one of the one of the board members of Zillow, a former VP at LoopNet, one of the former CEOs of Apple Computer, plus a host of angels and VCs that are backing him and helping him every day. I am the ancillary beneficiary of Andrew's terrific support network, because he is part of my support network. So Andrew and I talk regularly, and there's a wonderful sharing of ideas, and I am happy to be a colleague of his, and even more happy to be a friend of his. So I'm going to now pass the baton over to you, Andrew.
Hey, no problem. Love to pay it forward to you, like I mentioned a minute ago. Sorry to interrupt you. So I'm Andrew Bermudez. I am the co-founder and CEO of Digsy, former broker. I was at Lee & Associates for about 12 years and did very well there. My trick was I was a computer programmer before self-taught computer programmer before I started there. And always just try to find better ways of doing things. So hopefully today we're able to share some good information on how you guys can actually find tenants for your listings faster. Anything that I go on the tenants, a lot of this stuff is going to apply to buyers, but just for simplicity, instead of saying tenants and buyers each time, I'm just going to say the word tenant, but you can swap those two terms as you'd like. So one thing we're going to go over today, it's going to be traffic, which is number one, then visibility, and then we're going to go over presentation and influence. So I'm going to go over these four things. These are the four pillars of being able to effectively try to move vacant properties or availability. So as far as traffic goes, where do we want to search? Well, if you look at studies by LoopNet and CoStar, and also in combination with Google, you'll see that approximately 80% of the searches happen online. So they start online. So that means if somebody's thinking of relocating or getting a new space, they'll go online. And usually where they typically go is they start in a search engine. Unless they've done business and they know of LoopNet, et cetera, then they'll go directly to those. But they'll go to Google, they'll go to Bing. If they're out of the country, they'll go to Baidu, they'll go to Yahoo, they'll go to DuckDuckGo, and whatever other search engines. The interesting thing about this is that, you can't be focusing on multiple things. I mean, you could, but you're not going to be that effective. But Google has 92% of the market share when it comes to search. So for this intents and purposes, you want to focus on the 80% that generates more of the, where you can focus 100% of your energy should probably be on anything that has 80% or more coverage, which is going to be Google. So we're going to focus on that. So first things first, what does a tenant do? They go online, whether they're searching for office, retail, office, retail, industrial, warehouse space, restaurant space, whatever. They'll type something into Google, like, for example, warehouse for rent Irvine. Keep in mind that tenants don't operate like brokers. So it's rare that you find a tenant typing in industrial space or industrial building, they'll type in warehouse. Usually people who use terminology like that, or like flex or R&D, is going to be somebody in the industry, not, just like a person who's more of a user. So keep that in mind. So in this case, they type in warehouse for rent Irvine. And then what you'll see on this search result is you'll see, okay, warehouse for rent Irvine. You'll see an ad. You'll see flow space right here. You'll see LoopNet. For example, we're showing up on the second search result here for Digsy. And what we notice on this is that in order to be heard, in order for somebody to see your listing, contact you about your listing, you have to be, you got to be seen and to be heard about your listing. So what does that mean? Well, when they're doing these searches, usually the first thing that popped up was that ad, right? So you've got that FlowSpay ad right there, and then you've got the organic search result. Any search result that is not an ad is called an organic search result, because they're not paying to promote it. So you've got, for example, LoopNet, you got Digsy, and then it'll be Quantum Listing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, depending on your market. So after that, you have to realize, okay, well, if I have to be in the top search results, like, why do I have to do that? Well, here's the interesting metric. So statistically, people don't go past, 90% of people don't go past the first page of Google. So it's critical that if you're trying to advertise via ads, or if you're trying to advertise via the organic search results, that you place on that first page, and most of the clicks go to the top results, and then they start drastically reducing as going lower and lower as they go down the page. So as far as visibility, right? So we've got, like I mentioned, the first page, and then you can really hack yourself into the top of the page via an ad. However, ads do get less click rates than let's say the top organic search results, the ones that are not ads. And who are the ones not ads? So for example, you can see in this animated GIF right here that they're listing services. So if, for example, if somebody's searching, doing a search for office space for rent Tustin, and let's wait for it right here, you'll see kind of what the search results are going to be. You see, for example, LoopNet 42 floors, get Digsy, Quantum Listing, etc. So what is the likelihood that you are going to rank at that level? Extremely low. The reason why is Google has a variety of factors that take into consideration to see who places the top. Like, for example, how many people visit that page, how long they spend time on that page, keywords, are they doing ads, do we have any other signals, how many people are linking to that page. If you're just trying to market your little property management firm, or you own a few properties and doing your website, your chances are that you're not going to get the backlinks. You're not going to get a bunch of people spending time on your website because you have limited inventory, just the inventory you have. If you're a brokerage firm, if you're a large brokerage firm and you have a lot of listings, that might be one thing, but you're always going to rank below the listing services unless you're paying for ads. So that's one thing. And then I would like to point out another listing service, which you'll see in the search results, which is not our non-traditional commercial real estate service, which is actually Craigslist. And I'll go into that a little bit further, but don't discount Craigslist. Yeah, it looks like it just came out of like 1994, but this website has a massive, massive user base, and a lot of tenants are generated through Craigslist. So let's go to the easy one, right? If I can't get organic search results, what do? I can buy an ad and hack my way up. So how do we make the ad effective? So here's what we do. We have to A, have compelling copy. B, you have to have bidding power. And 3, you have to have keyword reach. And I'll go into kind of what this means. So for example, copy, right? I type in marketing agency right here, and here's an example of a bad, and here's an example of a good one. So for example, if I type in marketing agency and I get hit up with, don't hire my marketing agency. Okay, I thought you were gonna convince me why, but not until you consider junk fly. There's really nothing to catch my attention here. It says ranked #1 PPC management agency. Like there isn't really anything that kind of like tells me and gives me details to be able to click. However, I find these other ones more irresistible. For example, #1 SEO company in India, I see the price or the money that they've generated, how long they've been in business or have experience in, meaning that, hey, these guys out of the gate, they're catching my interest with dollar amounts, with stats, and their experience. And then you see the copy, for example, 87% renewal rate. They're doing a lot to get trust and really jump out. So this is just a great ad. So you want to make sure that, you know, whatever your title is going to be on the ad, whatever you have in the description is compelling. So hopefully that answers your question on that. If you guys have any questions, you can always email us. My email is going to be available at the end of this webinar. So if you want to skip ahead and go there, you can do that if you're watching the video. But that gives you an idea of what to do. And you can Google for a lot of examples too on compelling copy. The other compelling copy is when you go to Craigslist, right? And this is when people find a listing on, find Craigslist on the list results and they click on it. Usually a lot of tenants will think that they're gonna get quote unquote a deal on Craigslist. So if you have a great, you know, low price or competitively priced or unique property, you may wanna put it there because people will hunt for it. Usually our advice is put everything on Craigslist and put everything on all of the listing services that you can list that rank high when you're searching for commercial space in your market. So for example here, what we got is we got a Craigslist ad, and what we've done is we put a title. We make sure to put, you know, a variety of pictures here, ideally good looking, and a description kind of highlighting things. And then what we do right here in the show contact info, what Craigslist is doing is they're hiding the phone number. We use a tool, or I use personally, a tool called CallRail, C-A-L-L-R-A-I-L. I don't know why it took me so long to think about how to spell that. But what it allows you to do is create these unique phone numbers that you can put anywhere, and you can track. You can use those phone numbers that forward to whatever phone number you have. The other person on the other end doesn't even know that they're that it's a call forwarding service because it hits and it goes straight, so they don't have a delay or anything. But then you can start seeing, okay, so if I have a phone number for Craigslist and I have a phone number for LoopNet and then I have a phone number for Digsy, I have a phone number for Quantum Listing, I'm able to see what's generating what calls because it's hard to figure out, you know, who's calling. So one thing that we do on the compelling copy is write a catchy ad title with trigger words and uniqueness. And the reason why is these trigger words and a compelling title is gonna enable people to, actually to motivate people to just click through, and that's what you want them to do. So for example, in this title, we've put the trigger word beautiful. Beautiful for some reason works. It works in residential, it works in commercial real estate. There's other trigger words as well. Then the other thing is uniqueness. What's unique about this building? So this is actually a building that we're helping market for one of our customers, right, on getdigsy.com. And what's happening is it's actually an industrial building, but it's 90% office. So, roughly 90%. It's like 88% office. So they've got about 1,000 square feet of warehouse. So it's actually an office building with 1,000 square foot warehouse. Extremely hard to find. So it's rare to find. So we're highlighting that right here in the title. And also, what's unique about it? Well, it's not just in Anaheim. It's actually near Angel Stadium, which is a desirable area. So we're adding that as well. In case you want to kind of download and tweak all this stuff, we have a little sample Craigslist ad copy. You can go to this link at the bottom, and you will be able to, make it easy for you to create Craigslist listings. So the other thing, number two, one's, having compelling copy so people click through. And then the other thing too is having bidding power. So if you're working with ads, you have to give your ads enough buying power, so enough gas to be able to beat competing bidders. And what that means is the way that these search engines work is it works on an auction basis. So let's say, for example, you've got Equity Office bidding, $5 a click. For a keyword office space for rent, Santa Monica, but you're offering, $1. So most likely the $5 is going to go for the top position for Equity Office, and you'll be somewhere between that and the last ad on that page. So the lower you go, the less clicks you get. So depending on what your budget is, if you are the landlord or you get, you have a large budget, if you're anticipating that on average your spaces are going to be in the market you're going to have it empty for like 3 months, then what you may want to do is you may want to say, okay, well, that's money I would be throwing away anyway. Why don't I invest, 3 months of rent with gas? That gives you enormous buying power. Now, if you don't have that money, ideally what you want to do is you want to start marketing the property before it's vacated. So while you're receiving rent, you're reinvesting that rent to get your next tenant. So that way you don't have to wait 3 months and do that. So usually you want to do it as a fraction. Where it becomes hard is actually when you are a broker, where you're making a small percentage of the total consideration of the deal. So for example, if you're leasing out, let's say a 2,500 square foot space, the bidding power that you need for that is not going to be, you're going to spend more money promoting on ads than you are going to get in commission. So that's a no-go, a non-starter really out of the gate. However, if you have a big space that you're leasing out, you can actually spend the dollars because your commission's going to be greater. So it makes more sense. 10,000, 50,000 square feet, or if the building's for sale, even better. Usually anything over $500,000, you've got a decent amount of dollars to work with. So the other thing too is, okay, so how do I get my ads in front of the right people? So one, I have to make sure that people click on it. That's what copy does for me. The other thing too is I have to make sure that I get prime placement, and that's going to be my bidding strategy or my bidding bandwidth. And then I want to make sure that I target the right keywords. So the trick is to do keyword research and to find really good variations with high traffic volume. For example, I have an example. I've run Ahrefs on the left-hand side here. Commercial real estate has a volume of 86,000 searches a month, which is great. Commercial real estate for sale is 15,000. Commercial real estate listings is 4.9 thousand. And then you can go as deep as like office space for rent and office space or commercial office space. You can do a lot of things. But use a tool that enables you to kind of research that stuff. We've put together a complimentary keyword list that we use internally here at this page, so you can feel free to go there and download it. But I'll give you an example of some tools. So for example, keyword research tools, there's keywords everywhere. It's not as comprehensive as Ahrefs or SEMrush or keywordtool.io, but it's free. And I'll show you what it does. So if I go ahead and I go to my browser, and let's say, for example, I'm doing commercial real estate here at the top, right? What I can do with keyword tool.io, so I have it, it's my Chrome extension right there, right? So you can see it right there. It's on, and then you'll see that it says volume is 90,000. So and it's saying, hey, to bid on this word is usually going to be $2.28 a click, and the competition's really low. And then I see related keywords and their volume as well. So commercial real estate for rent. Also, I can say people also search for, and then I can see the monthly volume here too. So it's a great tool. A neat trick is to go to the bottom, and you can see for related searches. So people are going to commercial real estate for sale, Fullerton. This is because I'm in Fullerton, and it's identifying my location, commercial real estate for rent, et cetera, and it'll give you search volume. So it's a great tool, and you can try different combinations. Like if I go, for example, warehouse for rent, Irvine, right? There we are, which is cool. But I can see, okay, well, there's zero search volume right there. But let's go ahead and say, okay, let's remove the city. And what we'll be able to say is that there's 12,000 a month for just warehouse for rent. So that kind of gives you an idea. But a good place to start is going to be with keywords everywhere right here, which is a free Chrome extension. So I'm going to move on. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. You can also, at the end of this webinar, we're going to have some Q&A. So that way, you guys can raise your hands, and we can go ahead and make sure that we can answer those questions for you. If you've never put together an ad before, it's okay. There's actually a really good video online. We've actually linked it here at the bottom, digsy.co/google-ad-tutorial. You can click that. We'll be distributing the presentation after this as well. So there we go. So one thing is to hack the ads, because they'll show up at the top, or you can get to the top of the search results. What's the second one? Well, we just talked about it when we were researching and showing you guys what actually comes up on the first page of Google is usually listing services. So it'll be LoopNet, Showcase, Digsy, Quantum Listing, CityFeet, Rofo, Crexy, OfficeSpace.com, 42 Floors, Craigslist. It's all going to vary based on market, property type, and location, etc. So make a list of all the top ones that are listed when you do a Google search in your market, and those are the ones that you want to focus on. And then what you want to make sure is that your properties are on all of those, listed in all those locations or all those listing services. A lot of them take listings for free, so that's a good thing. The one thing is, it's very similar to search engine searches. So starting my search online for office space for rent, Irvine, California, usually I see ads and I see marketplaces. Well, the same thing happens with marketplaces, where you go in and you start seeing same patterns as when you're searching on Google. For example, the listings at the top are the most visible. And as you move down, less and less people click on page 2, 3, 4, 5. So usually you kind of want to put your property in front of them right away. So that way they can say, oh, okay, this is great. I like this, and this could work. However, you have to talk to your listing service. And the reason why some listing services will base it on when you posted the ad or the listing. So that would be, for example, like a Craigslist. So if you want to be at the top, you got to make sure you're creating a new post every day. If you're going through some other listing service, let's say, for example, they say, hey, we do it based on a variety of factors. Ask how they do it so you can secure those top 3 search results. Some listing services offer promoted areas where you pay money to stay in that area. So whatever search in that city for that type of property, you can do at the top. So check that out and ask around. And if you can secure that without, spending all of this time and energy reposting all that stuff, more power to you. But make sure that you do it in the listing services that are very popular in your market when you're doing a Google search. Keep in mind, searchers don't go past a few first pages. In fact, our internal data shows that around almost 1% of searchers will actually inquire on a listing. So that means that you have to be 1 out of 100 listings to be able to get that. So you better get visibility, because if you're buried on page 4, 5, 6, 7, or 10, you're not going to get that visibility. Okay, so you've done those things. You've done, you've been able to get placement on high traffic areas, right? Like search engines. Then you've been able to, get people to see your listing at the top. And then one of the most important things once you get people like that is you're not done yet. It's actually presentation. First impressions, just like when we're meeting face to face, first impressions are everything. And what that means, for example, is when you go to a presentation and you see, for example, you do a search and you see an okay photo of an interior of a building and not much information or description, you're just like, okay. But if you get like a beautiful rendering or a beautiful picture that they took on that, who do you think they're going to click? What listings do you think they're going to click on? And keep in mind, this is in first position, but the presentation sucks, right? So most likely, the third one for sure is going to get the click, and the second one probably will get the click. So better photos equals more clicks. Now, the thing about this is just look at Airbnb. So Airbnb has actually reported that the listings on their website that have professional photography, so good looking photography, get 2 to 3 times more bookings. Wow. So if you think going out there and taking a picture with your smartphone or a camera, or if you're not that good at taking pictures and then editing them is not important, you're severely mistaken. It is about being the most attractive girl on the dance floor if you want to dance with these tenants. So the other thing too that people don't know is 3D tours actually drive a lot of traffic. So we have data from Matterport, for example, and you're seeing more and more and more of these in different listing services. I know that CoStar's doing some stuff like this, and in some of their apartments.com. I'm not sure if they're using Matterport or something like that. But the real estate giant we have much respect for, you got to see what they're doing. I mean, I think it's awesome that they're doing this stuff. And Trust, for example, who's a tenant rep firm that has listings online as well, they're doing a great job. So 3D tours, actually, Matterport reports that those listings that have a 3D tour, where a tenant can actually view the space where a broker can, receive 50% more tours in traffic. So abuse that. It's very important, and that's part of your presentation. So now, to recap, we've got top traffic sources. We know 92% is coming from Google. Great. We secure that via ad, or we do it via making sure that we place at the top on the listing services where people click through that. So we have better visibility. And then the presentation, we have better listing presentation. And the question's, okay, now what? What do we do? Well, great. Now you've actually made a huge leap over your competitors on making sure that you are present. So as traffic goes by, they can see you standing on the side of the road with your beautiful property that they should be actually talking to you about. So what do you do next? Well, actually, you can take that even further. And I'm going to go over what that is. That is actually your sphere of influence. And what is your sphere of influence? Well, I'll go over that in a minute. There's actually 3 major components on that, or 3 different entities. But you can get the sphere of influence to work for you. That's almost like an extension of people you don't have to pay to evangelize your property. And how do we do that? Well, there's actually 3 major spheres of influence. There's 1, brokers. Why brokers? Well, think about it. They're brokers, commercial real estate brokers, day in and day out are talking to tenants in the market searching for space. Whether they're cold calling on a tenant rep account, that's a large firm, they find out they're looking for space, great. That's going to be, you know, if that broker knows that I exist and my property exists and what I'm willing to do, they're most likely going to bring me a tenant. Same thing, if they have listings, they're getting calls from tenants in the market all day long. There's Craigslist, LoopNet, Digsy, etc., sign calls. So they are just a great channel of that. So the one thing that you want to do is you want to tap into those. The other thing too is your existing tenants. If you take great care of your property and you're doing just a great job servicing your tenants with customer service and making sure things are fixed, that can go a huge way, a very big way, and a long way. And here's what I mean by that. So if you look at sales statistics, referrals are 4 times more likely to convert into a customer. That means that if a tenant knows of a buddy that's looking for space, that buddy trusts that tenant, and then if they refer you that tenant, most likely there's more of a willingness to be next to their friend somewhere where they've been recommended. 91% of customers, so your customer is a real estate property owner or lister or whatever, is going to be your tenant. 91% of customers say that they would provide a referral. However, only 11% of salespeople ask for it. So this is something that's a huge channel, or a very promising channel that just goes underutilized. And then third sphere of influence, actually inquiry emails. And that, what I mean by that, it can actually be sign calls if they call you on the phone. But in order, as long as you have their mobile number, which means you can text them, or you got the email, it makes it a lot more efficient for you to reach out to them. So what are inquiry emails? So if you go all the way back in time, let's say 2 years back, that's probably not going to do any good. But within 30 to 90 days, if somebody's contacted you on one of your properties, most likely they're still on the market. Usually the transaction cycles are around 90 days on the short term. So those are people who emailed you, people that you've got that may have inquired on one listing that you can send another listing to. So what I'm going to go over is the broker side right now. So what do you do with the brokers? What do you do with a sphere of influence? Well, one is utilize email. How do you get the email of all the brokers? Well, you can do a couple things. You can talk to your listing service. You can talk to us if we're in your market. And then we have databases of all the brokers that we collect, because there are prospective customers, or if they've listed properties on our site, which a lot of people that you normally wouldn't know about list their own property, or property managers, they'll go in there. So ask around, or you can call the brokerage firms directly, and they'll give you the roster of emails and telephone numbers. Then what you do is you put together a nice little email blast and say, hey, I just want to announce that this property is available for sale or for lease, etc. Then give it about a day, and then go and look at your open rates, and then sort by who's actually opened up multiple times. If they've opened it more than, let's say, 2 times, maybe 3 times or more, most likely there's some sort of interest. If you see like 10 opens from that one person, most likely they have customers that are that they're sending this property to. So most likely you want to pick up the phone, find more information, because it could be that you're a couple cents off the rent to make a deal happen with one other customer if they're a broker. The other thing too that people don't utilize is auto voicemails. And what does that mean? You know, when you collect these broker rosters, a lot of them come with direct phone numbers to the brokers, and you can use an auto dialer and make sure that you do after hours to make sure they're not at their desk. So when the voicemail picks up, you can just leave a generic voicemail saying, "Hey, it's Andrew. I'm with ABC Realty. I have this 15,000 square foot building for sale in, you know, Garden Grove. Great price. It's definitely a value add. I sent an email yesterday and would love to see if you have any customers that you think might make sense for this. My number is X, Y, and Z." So you can do that. Mojo Dialer is extremely cheap to do this. So a lot of the residential agents use this. And when the voicemail picks up, you can actually leave a voicemail, which is great. The next thing, as far as spheres of influence, is going to be existing tenants. So how do you get tenants to refer you to tenants? Well, it's actually kind of easy, right? Let's say, for example, you're trying to move a property and the rent for that space, it's a small space and it's $3,000 a month. So let's say it's a 3,000 or 2,500 square foot industrial building or a smaller office space. Right, so one month of rent is going to be $3,000. So out of that $3,000, wouldn't you give $500 to somebody for referring you a tenant? I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? It's money that you wouldn't have had because you were able to speed up the tenancy, the occupancy by providing these things to your existing tenants. So create a referral program. Hey, if somebody refers you a tenant, give them a little portion of that. You can, if you don't want to come up with cash and you absolutely need cash, you can also give a small discount on the rent. So let's say for every tenant you refer us, we'll give you 10% off your rent for the next 3 months. Another one that may work is prizes, but they usually work from cash to discounts to prices. And you can go wild with this. You can come up with a lot more interesting referral programs. And if you do, please share with me at Digsy and also Dave at Quantum Listing, because we love hearing fantastic ideas like that. So the one thing is you can't be emailing your tenants all the time and reminding them to be aware. However, what you can do is, if you're not already in the practice, once a month, just send a newsletter to your tenants that says interesting things that are relevant to them, news about the surrounding area, also news about, let's say, if new really good restaurants or eateries for lunch opened up, there's some value there. They can do that. And then in the middle of, as people scroll in the middle, you can say, hey, don't forget about our referral program. You're going to get $500 or whatever your promotion is. So you can do that. And also, you can actually do individual email blasts. Like you can do those once a month as well. So you can touch your tenants twice in a month, one via newsletter and another one via individual e-blasts. Try not to do more than that with your tenants because they might just, you start turning them around the other way. And then thirdly, it's going to be your inquiry. So we talked about these are people that are contacting you on your listings who are in the market now. You can also trade this off with, if you get the mobile numbers, text messaging as well. There's tools to send text messages out there. But anytime that somebody contacts you on one property, make sure to send them all of your availabilities in that property. So for example, I've got this building, they inquire in suite 2H, and I've got 3 other suites. I'll send 2H, and I'll also send the list and make sure that in the email it says, hey, I have other availabilities. If that doesn't work, take a look at the spreadsheet or the list below. You can also announce new listings, especially for people within that 30 to 90 days. If you have a new vacancy, send an email blast to all of the people that you've gathered the past 90 days and let them know of the new listing. Same thing with a price reduction. You can send an announcement when you have a price reduction. You can, in order to motivate people to reach out to you or to tour, you can also use a little bit of the hack that we use with existing tenants, which is offer a rent discount, or let's say offer a $500 for somebody to rent your space. It's the same thing if they approach you directly. So if they approach you and you're going to give them $500 to come, if they lease a space after they tour within an X amount of time, you can really hack these things with a promotion. And then at the same time, you don't have to lower your rate. You're just kind of providing somebody, it's almost like you're paying a finder's fee. You can also share customer testimonials with them. And And I wouldn't do like just send a mass customer testimonial. I would include my customer testimonials on the list of availabilities, on in my announcements on the listings, et cetera. So I would weave it into existing things that I'm doing rather than just sending these tenants like a testimonial, because it'll be like, okay, why'd you send me this? There isn't any properties here. And then you can also use this list of emails. And this is sort of like advanced marketing, online marketing for a lot of people. But when you have an email address, you can actually use that to go into Facebook or go into Google and start targeting those people with ads for that specific property or space that you want to either move, whether it's for lease or for sale. So you can do that. God, that was a lot of stuff, Dave. Okay, so there's some bonus things. I'm not going to go over it in detail. I'm just going to go just really, really quick because I want to make sure we have enough time for questions. But you're going to have access to this presentation, so go at it. So bonus, other sources. You may want to go to Crunchbase. Why? Crunchbase allows you to find companies with growth capital who have just received funding. So funding events, growth. Funding means growth. Growth means I need more space. So you can go to Crunchbase and see who's raised money in for a particular time and what location and target those tenants. You can also do the same exact thing, but via a website called AngelList. It's angel.co is the website. You can also use LinkedIn Navigator to find, companies to pitch your space to, etc. And also find a mutual contact. Let's say, oh, this guy used to be a tenant, and I think this would be a great company for that. You start moving further and further away from people who are telling you they're in the market now. Now you're trying to like seek out people who may be in the market, but this is a good tool. You can also do cold emails and follow-ups. This can be to brokers. This can be to property managers. It could be to bankers. It could be to tenants, your existing tenants. And well, actually, it wouldn't be cold if you were doing existing tenants, but that works. If you want to send postcards out, actually, you can use MailChimp. They'll put together, you can design your postcard, and they'll handle all the mailing. That's great. And then you can also look at Yelp to find hot new places, whether they're restaurants. Keep in mind, Yelp not only has restaurants, but they've got doctors, they've got a bunch of stuff. Find the highly rated ones and see if they want to open up another location, and then you can actually see if you can move, let's say, a retail space or a medical space. And you can also use TweetDeck, or you can just use advanced Twitter searches to see who is looking for a commercial space at that moment in your region. So for example, you do a search for looking for commercial space, and you can see that this person's looking for commercial space, and you can reach out to them. And I think, lastly is going to be a Google alert. So let's say, for example, you have got a big building, right? You may want to just do a Google alert, and all you do is you go to alerts.google.com and say, hey, alert me anytime or once a day of everybody that has any news that say relocating headquarters. For example, if I have a space in Nashville, publicly traded company in San Diego moving to Nashville. Great, I'm going to go ahead and contact that person about my building, or that broker about my building if there's a broker listed. So that helps you out. I'm going to give it to Dave so he can walk over through this. Dave, I'll navigate the slide for you. So just let me know when you want me to switch the slide, okay?
Okay. So at Quantum Listing, we recently introduced a few new tools, and some of them, without having coordinated this with Andrew, actually sort of fit into what Andrew has been talking about for the last 35, 40 minutes. So let's hit the next slide, please. All right, so the first thing, you remember Andrew was saying that when you're looking at a listing service, it's important to have your listing show up at the top of the search result within that service. So Quantum Listing recently added a listing promotion service, which will bring your listing to the top of a search for that particular market. So ordinarily, our algorithm is that the most recently added listings will go to the top of that search criteria. If you've got a listing that you really want to promote and make sure it gets the eyeballs so that it gets the clicks, I would recommend that you give this a try. It is available for a really negligible cost. It's either $2.50 a week per listing or $7.50 per month. We don't, for this particular service, only have it in up to 30-day options because we hope that we help you lease or sell that listing in that 30 days. So we don't want you to be paying for something that extends beyond its shelf life. And you'll be able to distinguish listings on our site that are promoted by the green highlight around the edges there. And if there are multiple listings in a particular market, there's, I think, maybe 3 that get shown at the top, and you know, the next time the screen is refreshed or somebody else looks, then the next ones go in. So we try to keep it as fair as possible. Next slide, please, sir. Then another way that we have addressed helping you get yourself out there and known in your market is that you can now promote your company or personal brand in your market. So you have the opportunity to put a small advertisement that looks, you know, like one of our listings, same size and shape, at the top of a search in the market that you select. And again, this one you can do, I think, on a 30-day, 3-month, or 1-year basis if you're, you know, depending on what your particular interest in your budget is. And this is, you can customize the message that you want to put there. You can put your profile picture, you can put your company logo, you can put a message on there that distinguishes your company from the competition. If you're a tenant rep and people aren't coming to your listings because you don't have them, this is another great way for you to make yourself known in your market. A lot of times we see in our Google Analytics that when people land on Quantum Listing, it's because they're doing a search on Andrew Bermudez real estate, and his Quantum Listing profile is going to show up on that Google search, and when it clicks, it'll bring them to his profile. So you want to make sure that your profile is as robust as possible, including your profile picture, a bio, and any of your social media links and your website as well, so that everything is working in harmony to get you more customers. And one of the things that we feel is that if you are a subscriber to Quantum Listing Lead Capture, having your brand promoted out there is going to help because it gets you further name recognition. All right, let's go on to the next one, please. So online advertising, another great thing that we've added. So you, by just filling out this really simple form, if you have listings on our site, you can choose which listings you want to appear in Google Ads. And we're using the Google AdWords display network, which we feel is a slightly better value than the cost per click, because you get more views of your listings. And they show up not only in Google searches, but also on other sites that you're visiting that have Google ads featured on them. So it'll be your profile picture, or not your profile picture, your listing featured picture. So again, to Andrew's point, you want to make sure that you've got the best possible pictures of your listings on our site and any site that you're posting your listings to, and you want to have a great title and a great description, something that's really going to grab people's attention when they see that. The minimum budget for a listing ad on Google with us is $25. You can spend more than that. And one of the things that we like about this is that, you know, we live in a on-demand economy world. You're going to use your Uber and Lyft, and when you want a ride instead of driving that night, or you want to use DoorDash or Grubhub to get your food delivered from wherever you want. we Airbnb, if you want accommodations somewhere, and this is sort of our entry into that on-demand economy, because with other services you're paying a very large upfront price to have a sort of generic ad budget. They're divvying it up the way they want, and it's showing up where they want, when they want, how they want. This really puts you much more in control of it. And there are times, if you're a retail broker, you may know that in between Thanksgiving and January 15th, retailers generally don't do a lot of searching for new locations. So if you're using another service where you're paying that upfront cost for it, what you're finding is that that budget is being distributed throughout all 12 months of the year. So you may say, look, I'm going to pull back on it during December, and I'll put the foot on the gas back in February when people are really in the market again, so that they can get their stores open for the following Christmas. So we think that this is going to be a really great way for you to control what is seen and when it's seen and how it's seen. And we'll be adding cost per click advertising, I believe, in the near future, and maybe even Facebook ads too, because they seem to really have a lot of traction. But we thought that this was a great place to start. And there'll be analytics available to you, so you can see how many views your ads are getting, and also how many clicks they're getting. All right, let's move on. We also, I mentioned before, our new lead capture system. So there are a couple of different ways that people can enter information for leads. The one that you're seeing on the screen right now is what people can start entering their information in a little search box on our landing page. And they have the opportunity to put their contact information and request to be contacted by a commercial real estate professional. If you've subscribed for lead capture in that geographic area, you'll get that lead. If there are multiple agents in a particular area, those leads will get shared on a rotating basis to keep it nice and fair. And then this is an example of that lead capture form. You can see it's super simple. There's only a few mandatory things that they need to fill out, like how much space they're looking for, their contact information, and the location. Everything else is optional. We are living in a world where you need to give informed consent, so you'll have to check that little box to make sure you can. I think California has already followed the European model, or if it hasn't started yet, it will shortly, where your personal information can't be shared unless you explicitly consent to your information being shared. So we are getting ahead of the curve on that. All right, let's move on, please. And on your listings, a pop-up appears on your listings after 15 seconds, after people have had an opportunity to decide whether it's something that is interesting to them or not, and it pre-populates with your listing address. Again, you put in what the size of the space that you're looking for, and your basic contact information, and then click add request, and that broker will get an email with that information. They'll also be able to find it on their profile page in the info section, in the lead portion of the info section. So that lead will be accessible to them from their quantum listing profile page. All right, let's move on, please. Another thing that we've done to help you increase your exposure is added an email blast feature. And we sort of put our own little twist on this. As I'm sure you all know, email marketing is an incredibly cost-effective way to market your properties. MailChimp says that there's a 38% dollar return for every dollar you spend on email blasts. So rather than have a list that we think it's good for, we're enabling you to send it to your own proprietary email list. So all you have to do is upload an XLS file with the email addresses in it, nothing else, just the email addresses, and add a subject line and a message that you think will be compelling, hit send, and it goes out instantly. You guys will get all the responses from it. They don't come to us, they go directly to you. And we do not then turn around and take those email addresses that you've added for our own purposes. It's we try to be ethical in all of the things that we do here. So we think, and we've had some of our members use this already, and I think it's really great because MailChimp, if you have under 2,000 email addresses, it's free. Most of the services do charge you, and you'll save hundreds of dollars a year by taking advantage of this particular service.
All right, so just like when I'm listing, you can list your properties for free on Digsy. So send your properties in, send them to listings at getdigsy.com. If you can also find a link to submit them on getdigsy.com, so you can go there. Also, if you're interested in the slides, what I'm going to be doing is after this webinar, I'm going to be adding the slides as an option when you go to let me take a look. When you go to this link that I listed earlier, this digsy.co/2019-08-14-download. You click on that, you'll be able to download the slides. So if you go there right after we get in here, you probably won't see it, but you can check back tomorrow, and for sure you guys will have the slides there. So that's it for that. We'd love to move to questions. So go ahead and raise your hand if you've got questions, please, or send us a message on the chat box.
I think there's a slide up one, maybe, Andrew, that has our contact info.
Yeah, I think you're right. There we go.
Okay, great. And just one small correction: Quantum Listing is, you get a free trial, but it's $79.99 a year per agent. It's not entirely free, but you get a hell of a value. It's almost free.
It's almost free, but it's definitely cheap when it comes to affordable. Anybody have questions? Go ahead and raise your hands. If not, we will let you guys go.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you send me an email that you were here participating in the webinar, and participating is just watching in real time, although we love chat, we will, and you're a Quantum Listing member, we will give you either some lead capture or promote your listings or some of the good stuff for free, just to thank you for participating in today's webinar with us.
Cool. I don't see any questions, Dave. So if you guys have any questions, here's our contact information so you guys can email us. But other than that, thank you for joining us. And Dave, as always, awesome hanging out with you and the rest of our participants. And look forward to hearing from people who.
And Matt asked listings, so listings are free on each of these platforms. So Digsy, they're entirely free. Quantum Listing, $79.99 a year for unlimited listings. So almost free.
Where'd you see the question? I don't see it on my end.
At the bottom, there's a little chat icon if you scroll down. And
yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah.
Huh. Anyway. Are there any other questions that you see on your end?
Yeah, so Matt wants to know, do we pay for leads from each of these platforms? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so when it's somebody inquiring on your listing, no, you don't have to pay us at all.
And again, same if somebody is inquiring on your listing, as long as their membership is current, your membership is current, you'll be able to see that. If it is a lead coming from the landing page, that is a nominal fee. I believe it's $10 a month for your market.
Yeah.
And thank you for the, you guys are awesome, Matt. We think you're awesome too, as well as everybody else here.
Dude, that's funny. I'm not seeing any of the pictures on my. Hold on a second. Hold on. There we are.
Yeah.
Huh. Now I see it. I was looking at the wrong screen for the questions. There was like 11 of them. All right, cool. So we got Matt, Kevin. Look forward to the webinar. Yeah, it looks like those are all the messages we
So
got.
Kevin has tried our lead capture. He hasn't gotten any leads yet, and after a couple of weeks, and so I told him that we're going to be extending his lead capture. So,
Okay.
we're human and nice and sympathetic, and we always want our customers to be happy.
Likewise. All right, everybody. So thank you so much. And let me see. I need to promote my brokerage and buildings I own to represent. Yeah, just reach out to us. We'll be able to help in whatever way. I'm sure I'll get tons of leads. Oh, that's great. Okay, cool. All right, if anybody have questions, here's our contact information. Email us, call us. We look forward to hearing from you. And Dave, anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you, Andrew, for your time. Also, I want to make sure to thank Julia for her help in setting this up today, and Andre.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Julia. She was awesome.
Yeah. So thanks again, and please give us a call, send us an email. We both love talking to customers, love getting ideas from you guys, because there's a whole world of people who think differently than we do, and we just want to make our services better so that they work for everybody. So.
All right, cool.
Thanks.
Have a great week, everybody.